Okay, and we're back for week 2 of Saloon Sports with Ben and Walter, and we're going to get right back into it today with talk about the NFL and the Cowboys, and also make a mention that yes, the World Series is going on, it's tied at 1-1, and it looks like Houston's going to win the game right now. So, but now before we get into
Not so fast.
it, and last week's game between the Cowboys and the 49ers, 40-10, Cowboys win. And watching the game myself, it was just like, this is just a beatdown. And there's not a lot to take from games like that. If you get blown out or you're blown out, there's really not much value in the tape, I think. What did you take away from the game, Ben?
I don't know. Watching the game, it really just felt like a glorified scrimmage. Like I had no point during the game did 49ers shot themselves in the foot with an early fumble, and Cowboys took an early lead, which they would never relinquish. And although it looked, the offense seemed to struggle at times in the first half, especially when they tried to throw the ball a little bit. Like the timing was off a little bit. And then Zeke started to break off a few big runs and got the offense back on track.
And yeah, was watching that game. I do find it funny after the game. The narrative changed from the 49ers play everyone close and Cowboys might have trouble. Cowboys beat them by 30. National media narrative changes to, oh, why is Cowboys getting credit for beating an 0-6 team and making them 0-7? It's like, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're kind of used to that. I love Shannon Sharp, but he does that. He's working with Skip Bayless. He likes throwing jabs at Skip Bayless because Skip's a notorious Cowboys fan. But yeah,
that only started like 2 years ago, but I'll let that one go.
I think a lot of famous Cowboy fans decided to admit they were Cowboys fans a couple of years ago, which was funny. Denzel Washington, when I was like, for real? Where have you been in the past? I don't know. So yeah, that game was just, I guess the worst, most notable thing to come from is Dan Bailey. He got injured, which we would later find out this week actually earlier today, Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones said they expect him to be out a month, which is problematic. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Going back into the game, it's just the run worked, which basically made the passing game a little bit irrelevant. Dak still had a good statistical day, but they didn't need to do much in the passing game. The run was there. The offensive line, this was Jonathan Cooper's by far best game as starting left guard. Offensive line mauled the front seven for the 49ers. It was like they blew them off the ball. Their own blocks were working.
It wasn't even close. Zeke got 4 yards past the line of scrimmage before he even got touched. Like, it was just the difference in the trenches was it wasn't even close.
And what I noticed that he's at some points earlier this season, he would not show some patience and hit the hole as fast as he can. In this game, he hesitated, waited for the hole to develop, got through it. And then he had a 70-yard screen pass touchdown, which was just like blocked perfectly. And I was like, okay, he's got that. So he looked a little quicker as well. Like,
yes.
I'm not sure why. Even if all the off-field stuff is getting in your head, it doesn't make you slower when you're in the open field. So I'm not sure where that burst came from or what happened there. He might have had an undisclosed injury that the Cowboys didn't have to report since it didn't keep him out of practice. So who knows? Like, I don't really know, but he did look quicker in this game.
Offense started to look like the offense from last season, where they could just and you were guaranteed 5 yards, especially on first down. Many yards on first down on the run, it opens up so much more. But then again, say that the offense has turned the corner. They've been in every game this season. This game just was not even close. It's tough to pull anything positive away from it. Like, I guess I'm just a pessimist by nature when looking at this. But
The defense, this was by far the best game from the defense all year, even though while the stat line looked good against the run, Carlos Hyde did have some holes. And the reason why the 49ers stopped running is because they were getting behind by a couple of scores. So I still see some problems. I came away from that. I was like, okay, the run game still a little bit. Need to work on that. But the corners played well. Safeties played well. There was like one big play I remember on a post pattern that I was like, oh, that should not happen. But the 49ers never really went back to that, which was like, I saw that and was like, thank you. So it's a positive game, but there were definitely things they could work on afterwards.
yeah, the 49ers, I think they're still trying to find their identity under the new head coach, a new regime, really. Beathard, like, very few flashes, but there's still flashes. Like, he's looked very mobile in the pocket. He completed a few long passes, but ultimately he was just too erratic for the offense to get any sort of momentum going.
No, he was getting
like you said, Carlos Hyde had a really good game, I thought, but they had to get away from him. And they probably should have involved him a little bit more in the pass game because he is a good pass catcher out of the backfield. And in this type of game, you can at least scrape together a few yards to a few first downs on your march down the field. You might not score, but you might get close enough for a field goal attempt.
And yeah, the pass rush looked good again. David Irving had, I believe, 2 sacks this game. Tyron Crawford had a sack. Lawrence had another sack. The pressure was getting there. Beathard got beat up this game, and for a rookie quarterback making your first start, and you haven't been getting all the snaps all year long. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a good matchup for him to make his first start, but I can understand why John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan would be like, let's see what we have. He came in last week, played really well, almost won that game, probably would have won that game if it wasn't for a penalty from Pierre Garçon that knocked them out of field goal range. So let's start him, see what happens. And they saw what happens, like, oh, I hope we didn't kill his confidence, because that's a confidence killing games like because when you're a third round quarterback or draft pick and you don't get all the snaps, you're like, can I do this? Was this my fault? I mean, there's all these things that go mentally, almost like the pitcher in baseball, where you've got to have your quarterback coach settle him down, since he's probably going to make all the rest of the starts this season. There's no reason why Hoyer, you know who he is by this point. He's not going to turn it around. He might have been the last quarterback that won some games for the Browns, but that's not saying much. So, I mean, let's transition to this week's game, a big NFC East game. Cowboys against that DC team, the Skins, and at FedEx Field in DC, 100% chance of rain. And the biggest thing from pregame looking at this has been the Washington Redskins injury report. Every single one of their offensive linemen, besides one, Sean LeVore, their left guard, has been on the injury report. Brandon Sheriff has a back and knee problem. Trent Williams has a knee problem. Who they've even said, AJ Gruden has said that he probably won't make practice again at all the rest of the season because his knee probably needs surgery. And you have Moses, the right tackle, I forgot his last name. Another starts at the end. He's got 2 sprained ankles. And there's Spencer Long, their center, is not playing this game. He's been ruled out. None of the guys, other guys I've mentioned, practice all week, and they're questionable. The team was so injury-ridden that they didn't even practice on Wednesday. So when you look at that, and you look at the Cowboys' strength on defense being their defensive line in the pass rush, does that give you hope that it'll help them slow down Chris Thompson, who's their leading pass catcher, he's their leading rusher, and is a problem for the Cowboys, a running back who can catch the ball and can also run?
Yeah, I think Chris Thompson is a dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, and there's no question about that. He can easily take a catch 5 yards deep and take it 80 yards up the field. But I do think that with the injury report, I think our defensive front is going to be able to take control of the trenches and control the game for the most part. what concerns me the most is the front four on the Redskins side of the ball. Against the Eagles last week, they looked very good against a fairly good offensive line for the Eagles. So I think that's going to give us some troubles, but ultimately I think we'll be able to overcome that and come away with the victory.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't see, and all these offensive linemen are dealing with lower body issues, and that's a problem for especially Morgan Moses is a right tackle's name. He's 2 sprained ankles, and he's going up against DeMarcus Lawrence, second in the NFL in sacks, who gets around, who is key to getting home is quickness and speed. Problem, like that's a problem. They're either going to have to keep in one of their tight ends, which is our Jordan Reed, and let me check their roster really quick. He's an old 49er, Vernon Davis, to chip, and they're not known for their blocking. They're down the field receivers. So that's going to be a problem. And Trent Williams, all-pro left tackle, give him his credit. He's dealing with a knee problem, and he's going to be going up against Tyrone Crawford all game, who is a bull rusher who will make you put some torque on that knee. Cowboys, there's no reason. I wouldn't, if I was Rob Marinelli, I would not blitz much in this game at first. Let the front four go and see if you can get to Kirk Cousins without blitzing, because Kirk Cousins, I believe his passer rating while being blitzed is 102. Just don't do it. So let's see if your front four can get there and just let the rest of your defenders play some zone and try it that way, because I think blitzing would be a mistake in this game, personally.
Well, yeah, you saw it. Yeah, we definitely saw what happened when Philly blitzed Cousins last week. He plays on blitzes. But I do believe that we can get enough pressure on Cousins with just 4, like you were saying, and be able to drop everybody into coverage and be fine. Like I'm not too concerned with that. Although one-on-one, the Redskins do offer a bit of a challenge for our DBs because of what they bring at their wide receiver position. Like Terrell Pryor, he's body to cover just because of his size and athleticism. And then also you got Josh Doxson, who had a coming out game of sorts. Like he's a very fast fits in the secondary. Something they're not used to seeing here in practice. We don't have that type of receiver on our roster.
That's a long discussion that needs to be had. We'll start talking about the draft. And they still have Jamison Crowder, who plays in the slot for them, who pretty good, a slot receiver. Scandrick, that's going to be Scandrick's guy to try to slow down. And their tight ends are really good, which means Jeff Heath, Xavier Woods, Byron Jones are going to have to, at points, cover them man on man, and they have to figure out a way to cover Chris. I just forgot. They're Chris Thompson out of the backfield. Do you want Sean Lee to do that all game? I don't. Personally, I would like to figure out a way to get a safety on him when you can, corner if you can.
This may be Jalen Smith's game to do something. He's fast enough to cover one of those linebackers or cover one of those tight ends.
I'm not sure how much he's even really. I mean, he played around. I believe he played around 35 snaps last week. It was him and Hit. They pretty much limited him a bit. It was Hitchens and Lee mostly, and he's gonna have to do something. I mean, you can't keep him from coverage. That's his weakness right now, since he hasn't regained all his mobility.
He's going to play with it to hopefully be able to understand coverage. He's still got a lot of growing pains, of course, but
yeah, that's something I'll have to try to figure out. That if the pass rush gets there with 4, that mitigates certain things that the Redskins would like to do. They like to take shots down the field. That's scary against Cowboys secondary, especially if they go play fake and Byron Jones scoops up. It's like, oh, there you go. That's Josh Doxson running behind you. Just letting you know. Because that's what's going to happen if he bites up on play action. They're going to try to throw the ball deep. That's what the Eagles and the Redskins like to throw the ball deep. That's just what they do. So that's a little. So I do have some concerns if he gets time in the pocket because he'll get the ball out quick and he likes to go down the field. The problem with them is that, or Kirk Cousins, that he can be prone to giving you some easy interceptions, and if that happens this game,
we saw that last week as well.
Catch them.
Or excuse me, last week.
Yeah, if he gives you the ball, catch it. That's Scandrick. Ball hits your hand, please catch. Just come on, fall down, cradle it, body catch it.
With the past couple of seasons is creating turnovers in the secondary, at least. Sean Lee's a ball hawk at linebacker, but we need our secondary to make more plays, more than just batting the ball away. Like if we're gonna be that Super Bowl team we want to be, we need more interceptions.
I mean, sometimes I think that's part of the conversation I don't think gets talked about enough. I mean, you'll hear even coaches talk about and commentators talking. It's like we need to get turnovers, but interceptions are either going to happen because the quarterback is confused, makes a really bad read. Like we'll talk about this later. But Matt Moore made a horrific throw last night that resulted in a pick six. That's on the quarterback. If the quarterback doesn't make that throw, can't force it. Like tip ball is predicated by luck sometimes. Like if someone is there.
Yeah, my point was that when we get those opportunities, we don't capitalize on them. Right. And many times where there have been horrible throws and our DBs batted it down, but they were where they easily could have come up with an interception.
Brandon
Carr. Brandon Carr, yes.
And yeah, we can move over to the offensive side of the game. There's no doubt with the weather that the Cowboys are going to stick to what they do best and try to run the football. Keep the ball away from Kirk Cousins because I don't care if it's a tsunami. The Redskins are going to try to jump on this game. The biggest problem I see isn't Josh Norman probably coming back. It's actually Ryan Kerrigan. He's one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league. He's probably going to run up with Lyle Collins a lot. Lyle's held up decently, admirably enough against pass rushers so far. He's the biggest threat I see. And so their defense isn't scary to me. They play DJ Swearinger a lot. He's missing a small linebacker who can't cover. If you get him in coverage, Whitney Beasley will abuse him. So it's pretty much stop Kerrigan, run the ball, keep running the ball. One of the middle linebackers, I think Kevin Monroe, is not playing without. So just wear them down. It's kind of a simple game plan. Do what you do. Play assignments well. And it should go.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I mean, it sounds simple, but I don't see why throw the ball 40 times against this team. Like, I just don't. Unless you have to, that should never be what they go into. So I don't think they go into that kind of mistake at all.
Well, yeah, I agree. Like, although I think our offense will try to do more with Zeke. With the suspension looming, they're probably going to get what they can out of him. The decision on the suspension coming. That's but I think the offense is going to be fine. We're going to run the ball probably 60% of the time, and that's going to set up a few play actions downfield for Dak. Considering the weather, running the ball 60% of the time is going to be the right answer for a win.
Yeah, that's other than Kerrigan and no one on their defense that like you gotta worry about them not ruining your game. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty much if you play your assignments well, I don't see the Redskins beating. I don't see them beating this offensive line without mistakes happening. They just don't have. They play 3-4. I know what the Broncos did against this team playing 3-4, but that was an abolition.
They're not the Broncos.
Better than the Cowboys. Like, I don't think there's any team that can 30 points better than anyone. And you're right. They don't have personnel either.
But what does give me concern is what I saw last week is they do play very aggressive on the defense side of the ball.
Yes.
So can force mistakes on our end. So we just got to guard and not try to overdo it on offense, and we should be fine.
And you brought up a great point from the Philadelphia Washington. I don't think I've seen a game in the past couple of years where there were more covers and blitzes. For people who don't know what that is, that's pretty much a blitz where you have no safety net, no across the field. You're blitzing. You're blitzing at least 7. And that cost the Skins on a deep touchdown. Carson Wentz did that Houdini trick, came out on for a touchdown. I was like, oh, okay, or run for 16 yards on that play. On another play where they blitzed, he just throws it over the top, drops it in. I believe that was Doxson on that touchdown, or was it Doxson that scored that touchdown? Or no, for the Philadelphia Eagles. I forgot who caught. That was Aguilar. He beat one of the corners that was in for Norman.
It was Aguilar.
So it's like if they blitz like that, that's pretty much going to make the run game a little difficult. But then it relies on your wide receivers to beat one-on-one coverage, and that goes back to the speed thing and route running. Cowboy, best route runner on the team is Cole Beasley by far. You can throw Witten in that as well. But as far as wide receivers playing on the outside, getting down the field, you're not going to just beat them over the top unless Bryce Butler decides to become a consistent player and just runs. So, yeah, that can be trouble. That could be trouble for them. They like the blitz. That is true. But Dak seems to handle those situations well. I mean, he's got escapability. It's not like he's not Drew Bledsoe back there, which his statuesque demeanor was what led to Tony Romo becoming the starting quarterback for the Cowboys for over a decade. I remember watching those games. I was like, this offensive line is horrific. Drew Bledsoe can't move. The dude is getting killed. Romo comes in and makes the offensive line look better, which is very similar to what's happening in Seattle right now. Horrible offensive line. Russell Wilson makes them look better, far better than what they actually are. That offensive line in Seattle is akin to the Giants. The offensive line. It's
that Seattle decided to take a defensive tackle and think they could teach him to play offensive line.
Yes, they did do that. That is correct. I actually forgot about that, but
there's a big difference.
Yeah, that's something we'll get into when we get more into breaking down film and stuff and draft. The draft coming up, but yeah, that's an entirely different thing. That might work in high school when you're playing against guys who have about a third of the athletic ability as you do, but in the NFL,
college, maybe, but more often than not, no.
At FBS and most FCS schools, yeah, I don't see that being a great transition. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts about this game? Do you think Cowboys can win this one? Do you think we're going to our picks later? Yeah, do you think it's going to be a close game?
This one, I mean, every Cowboys Redskins game is usually going to be close. Like there are very few over the past decade that were not close, at least up until the fourth quarter or so. And if you're asking me to put a score on it, Cowboys by touchdown is what I want to say, but in all likelihood, it's probably going to come down to kicker, and we'll see how he does.
For what it's worth, the Redskins also have a new field goal kicker, but yeah, Mike Nugent isn't Dan Bailey. Dan Bailey. Okay. Sadly, it looks like he's going to be out for a month. Mike Nugent, I mean, he was a former second-round draft pick, so he's not someone without talent. I believe his career average is around 81%. That's not horrific. It's definitely not all-time level like Dan Bailey's around 91, 90%. Justin Tucker missed last night. in a game we'll talk about, which not really much to talk about, but he's been battling Bailey for the whole time kicking percentage. So, I mean, do you want this game to come down to a field goal and Mike Nugent has to win it? If it's from 50, no.
Yeah, nobody wants that to happen, but I'm just saying if we're going to go through all this with losing Bailey and luck's never really been on our side, it's probably going to come down to a field goal just because of how our history has gone.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, in a game like this, it might come down to a special teams game and a kicking game, which there's, I mean, you just don't know.
Maybe Ryan Switz will turn one back.
That would be nice. That would be great if that. I actually did not look into their special teams and see if that's a viable chance this week. I mean, it'd be nice if we could get a big pop out of the special teams. It's happened once this year. He needs to show. I mean, honestly, I think he needs to get more involved in the offense. I know why he could. I mean, why do it? I mean, just give a different look, even if he doesn't get the ball every time. Give some defensive coordinator something different to look at, because the Cowboys honestly run a basic offense. You know what they're doing at a certain sets. You know when they're in 12 personnel, that's probably going to be a run to the strong side. I mean, they love the outside zone read. I mean, if we know that, we know all the defensive coordinators know that. The problem is that's the best offensive line in the NFL probably still, and good luck beating them. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to is, yeah, you might know it's coming, but can you beat that offensive line, and can you beat Witten and Hannah blocking? Like, that's – it feels like Tucker's doing show for a bit. So, I mean, when it comes down to that, it's like just give someone a different look. We don't do that much. The Cowboys don't do that much. If it works, it works. I mean, the team's scoring a lot of points, but it is what it is at times. And that's been doing a 40-yard dash. He's demonstrating for everyone. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just sometimes wish they would show something exotic just so someone has to prepare for it.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure he's probably saving those for a rainy day, which apparently it's going to rain on Sunday, so pull them out.
And when it comes down to, I don't know, what do I think about this game? To me, it comes down to a big if, and that big if is Chris Thompson. Don't let him Todd Gurley you. That can't happen.
He's not a Todd Gurley type. I don't see that happening.
He's just apples to oranges. Gurley, and that's kind of where I'm worrying is like if you can get him.
Skill set that Gurley has with the ball in his hands.
True. If you get him isolated on a linebacker all game,
he's not going to run you over. He might make one guy miss, but we just need to have good tackling routes or good routes to the ball, and everything's going to be fine in that regard.
Yeah, when you mix him with the tight ends, it's just, to me, it's just, you just gotta not let. I mean, I guess it might come down to field goal attempts. Like I can't stand bend and don't break style, because eventually, well, if they make all their field goals, you've got to match them. But I mean, it really is, to me, it comes down to how well the defense plays this game. There are some interesting matchups across the board. If the safeties play well, and that's including Jones, that's including Woods, that's including Jeff Heath. Last week Jeff Heath, when he was coming up to tackle, he was physical. He made tackles in the open field stop plays where they worked. That's a good sign. He doesn't get any credit other than his field goal kicking from a lot of Cowboys fans, and to me, it's always been a little bit stop it. But to me, it just comes down to how well this defense plays. Score-wise, if it's raining as bad as they say, it will. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it might come down to like 21-12 or 24-15. Like I don't think it's going to be a game in the 30s unless it just doesn't rain. Then that's a possibility. So I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd say I say this: Redskins will get you 5 field goals and not able to get it in the end zone. 15-24 or 24-15 Cowboys. There we go. I think this is going to be a game that comes down to seeing what your kickers can do and who can keep who out of the end zone. And I think Cowboys when the Cowboys are in the red zone, they've been scoring touchdowns. And
yeah, and it's not even close for like how good they've been in the red zone.
Best in the NFL.
They hold the record right now for most consecutive red zone touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think right over the past couple of weeks, they've been the best team in the NFL in the red zone by a substantial mark. They're getting in the 20, getting touchdowns. It's just,
or I guess the longest active streak is the right term, not record. But.
So I mean, yeah, it's a concerning game because it is an in-division game. The coaching staffs know each other well. A lot of people are talking about Dez and Norman, the commercials. Oh my God, I really don't think this game is going to come down to Dez Norman matchup at all, to be honest with you. So I mean, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be, I think, low scoring. I would be happily shocked if the Cowboys steamroll this team. It's a possibility their offensive line's gone. So I mean, there's a chance that happens. They're just all broke. Their offensive line's broken. Four of them might play. They're broken though. I mean,
what level? That's the question.
So I mean, it's a possibility that their offensive line just can't hold up. That they have another bye-back game, and you're seeing 3 offensive linemen for the Redskins not be able to finish the game. If that happens, Redskins aren't moving the football. Cousins is rather stationary. He's not a complete statue, but he doesn't have the mobility of even of a C.J. Beathard. Definitely not the mobility of Dak or Wentz or anyone like that. He's a little more mobile than Eli, who's about 60. So the offensive line doesn't play well. They're not scoring. I don't care how quickly he wants to get rid of the ball. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, those are my thoughts about this game. And with Blake I guess that's also something we didn't I can't remember if we mentioned, but Blake Jarwin moved up from the practice squad. Kellen Moore was moved down to the practice squad since he has eligibility he hasn't played enough games to eliminate his eligibility for the practice squad. Let's talk about that for a second. Kellen Moore is one of the, how to put it, Cowboys fans like to beat up on Kellen Moore. Do you think that's fair?
Fair based on what I've seen on the field? No, because the games he started with was on a very, very bad Cowboys team 2 years ago. He played as well as anybody could have imagined at that particular moment in time because he was – I mean, Derek McFadden was the running back at the time. They still had a decent offensive line. They have played, but probably not. So basically, Cole Beasley was his number one guy.
I don't think that's last.
Right. I think Bryce Butler came over that particular season. Wasn't anywhere near the deep threat that he is right now. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot because deep threat like every other game. So didn't really have much to throw to in terms of options.
Yeah, and his last start, he threw 430-something yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But I think people, we'll say average fans who don't break down film or anything, get caught up in a quarterback should look like this. A quarterback should have arm strength like this. And it's like some of the best quarterbacks of all time, Joe Montana, did not have a strong arm. Chad Pennington's a more recent example. He's stayed in the league a long time, one of the career leaders in completion percentage. Did not have a big arm. I'm not sure Chad Pennington could throw 45 yards, to be completely honest with you. I'm not positive if he couldn't do that. So Kellen Moore, I mean, I love watching him in college at Boise State. What Kellen Moore does well, he has not a lot of playing time regular season in the NFL, like 2 starts, I believe. In one game, he came in halfway through because he was a better option than Matt Castle and Brandon Whedon, which never mind. Never mind.
Both of which are on the Titans.
Yeah, as of last week anyway. That's again, we're gonna try to stay away from that as long as possible. Just never mind that. Um, yeah, Kellen Moore, what he always does well is he's a very accurate quarterback, and he knows the game. He's a smart guy who his dad was a coach. He's not big. He's actually more mobile than people give him credit for. He can move, um, but people will want to say, "Oh, this preseason he was terrible." Well, Byron Bell was out there. Emmett Cleary, if anyone remembers him from training camp, was playing a lot with Kellen Moore. Then Cooper Rush came in and played well, playing against third string and fourth string, many of whom did not make a team's roster. I'm like, okay. And evidently behind closed doors, Cooper Rush has been playing well in practice. They wanted to elevate him. Seeing as how they can't get him on the practice squad, and Kellen Moore, they can get it to the practice squad since he's the best veteran, doesn't have to go through waivers. And then it's like, okay, here you go. We want Kellen Moore to stay in the quarterback's room. We like what he does, and if he ever had to play, we would be perfectly fine with that. Who's even to say if Dak got hurt for an extended period of time that Kellen Moore wouldn't be the starter? They might do that. I have no confidence in Cooper Rush winning the football game right now.
And honestly, I think along that logic, that's the exact reason why Darren McFadden hasn't been active. Because of the whole Zeke situation. They want to make – because it is the closest thing we have to Zeke on our roster. So they want to keep his top-end speed on the shelf and not pull a hamstring or any type of injury like that. So would do lose Zeke for this season for that suspension, that McFadden should be able to step in right away and only miss a half a beat, we'll say.
There's a lot of specifically Cowboys fans who would want to slaughter you for that statement, but I actually 100% agree. I think Darren McFadden is the second best running back on this team. Alfred Morris is a great guy, but honestly, at this point, I think he might be the fourth best running back on this team because I think Rod Smith gives you some things that Alfred Morris can't give you. Just Rod Smith can block, Rod Smith can catch, Rod Smith put him between the tackles. He's probably faster than Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris probably runs a 4.7 at this point. I mean, people don't look past that. I mean, why he was so successful in Washington was the read option.
Scheme.
Yeah, he gets in the zone scheme. You don't have to be fast. You just read where it's going.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest things to block. You got everybody running one direction, and then you make one cut, some hole on the backside, and you can get that way.
And when they had RG3, dual threat running back, they used the read option a lot with him too. So it's like, yeah, he had some things scheme-wise. That was a perfect fit for what he was, a sixth round draft pick. So I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's just like he doesn't have the physical skills as the other running backs. He might have better vision than Rod Smith in the backfield.
Yeah.
I'll give that.
Probably.
And doesn't. I mean, that's the thing. Cowboys have four, what I would say, good running backs. I think I could find a team where Alfred Morris could start. I could find a team where Darren McFadden could start, or at least split the reps. I could probably find a team where Rod Smith could. Well, I mean, when you're including the Browns, I mean, whatever. Just putting all those players around. So I mean, like I think there's good running backs on this team. It's just how do they complement each other? And yeah, Darren McFadden, in my opinion, is the closest to Ezekiel Elliott. That's from film years ago. It's like, yeah, Darren McFadden. He had 1,000 yards on a team that went 4-12, had nothing else on offense in the majority of that season.
No quarterback.
Like, yeah, Brandon Whedon, Matt Castle started those games, and they were bad as being nice.
Atrocious.
And if Brandon and the team wanted to start Joseph Randall, who what's he on his 16th arrest? That's not even being mean. That's a legit. Last time I saw, I believe it was
low ball on that.
8 or 9 for the dumbest things possible. Like I was like, you don't, dude, you're that impatient. You're going to steal $30 worth of stuff, and you're an NFL player. It's like, you've got some attitude problems. Something's there that it's just you're dumb. Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
You should have the money to pay for that.
And he was impatient. It was just like, I'm just leaving. They're not. that was the big one. There's a lot of, I think there was some domestic violence things that happened after he was gone from the Cowboys. The team started him for 4 games, and Darren McFadden got around 2, 3, 4 carries in those games. He started the rest of the games, got 1,000 yards. If he had started all the games that season, even with the bad quarterback play, 1,400-yard season, not out of the question. Definitely would have had 1,300 yards. So,
absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
He's got talent. Like, the guy has talent. He played on a lot of bad Raiders teams, like real bad Raiders teams.
Guess what? Like, his body is still fairly fresh. Like, he hasn't had many reps over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
like, he probably had 30 or 40 runs last year, and 0 this year. Like,
they ran Zeke to the ground last year.
But along the same lines, there could be some rust in the tank. We don't know.
And yeah, you've alluded to this a couple times. Like, yeah, the ruling on the stay of the preliminary injunction. I know most people probably lost that. There's like that was pretty long. I don't care to know all the stuff that's going on here. That happens on the 31st. At that point in time, it's not likely, but it's possible that the suspension for 6 games starts then immediately, and then you would bring Darren McFadden up, and my best guess is he would be getting 20, 25 carries a game at that point. That could still happen.
Him and Morris would split evenly, probably 10 to 15 apiece during the first game, just to get McFadden's feet wet in the offense this season, so to speak. But over the course of the season, or over the course of the next, I believe McFadden would be the lead back moving forward.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things there, and yeah, there's still a lot of drama around this team. It's the Cowboys, and if you read about the '90s team, even what's going on right now is kind of doesn't reach the levels of Michael Irving stuff. So.
Cocaine Cowboys.
I'll just leave that one. I'll just leave that one on. You can Google Michael Irvin and see some of the crap or stuff that would happen in the 90s. So let's move into the rest of the league and what's happening. Well, I guess we can start with the game that was played last night. Baltimore beat.
It's a good thing we didn't pick this one. I would have lost horribly.
Baltimore blanked Miami 40-0. Worst NFL football game we watched close. There's like 2 things to talk about the game. One of them was the cat that was on the sideline into that game. That was funny. The other thing is that hit from Alonzo on both flag. Like, that was, even if it wasn't intentional, which that split second, I don't think Kiko Alonso was like, I'm going to knock the Christ out of him. I don't think that's what Kiko was thinking. But he came in, like, Flacco was running. He was trying to get the first down. Flacco then realized, I'm not going to get his first down. I'm going to slide since no one can touch me if I slide feet first. Kiko was bearing down. Kiko slides. It's a bad hit. But what you see, Kiko hits him with a forearm right about here, splits his ear, knocks his helmet off. Flacco, and what to me, the worst part of it was that you saw Flacco's face and how he reacted. Like, he had no idea where he was. I immediately saw that. I was like, if he plays another snap in this game, NFL should take a draft pick from the Ravens. They should find the Ravens. Like, there is no way that dude should play in the next 2 weeks. Like, he was that was like, yeah, he's gone. Like, get him off the field, get him somewhere where he sits down. Like, that was horrific to see that. But it comes down to, was it a dirty hit? Was it intentional? Was it necessary? And all those other questions that come out after this. Is Kiko a dirty player? I'll let you chime in on that here.
Well, no, I wouldn't call Kiko a dirty player because of that. We saw some dirty play later on in the night by Ndamukong Suh,
Oh, he's got
who
that.
decided to grab Ryan Mallett by the throat at one point. Look that one up. No, I mean, and that hit, like, and could Alonso have pulled up and just, touched him while he was sliding down? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're playing full speed like that, it's really tough to pull up last minute. But it's been a while since I played. I don't want to demonize somebody for just trying to play fast but at some point you got to draw a line somewhere. Smarter than do that. I mean, you've got to know that the quarterback's gonna look to slide, and you do that. I'm not going to say it cost. It really didn't cost his team, anyways. Colleagues, and that a player should take that to heart as well, because he could have been on the other end of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Or what if his guys?
I mean that. It could have been like this. I'm not giving Kiko a pass. It's a bad hit. It definitely should have been flagged.
It should have been flagged. It was flagged,
Yeah,
but I don't think it should have been an intentional flag.
yeah, people would want to say that he should have been ejected and suspended 6 games. I'm like, whoa. He doesn't have that reputation, and that's the thing. I've played sports. I've played physical sports. The thing that makes these plays look even worse is that we have super ridiculously slow motion. That was like, oh, he definitely had time to pull up. That was the most malicious thing ever. But when you watch it real time, it's like, it's different. Should he have been flagged? Absolutely. I'm not saying that. It could have been worse if Kiko literally led with his head. Joe Flacco would have been carted off the field. We wouldn't see him for the rest of the year. He still hit him with the forearm. Can't do that. The NFL is trying to get rid of those plays. And this problem is, like, I was reading through a thread, a sports thread with football fans. A lot of them were, I won't use the exact language, they were saying the NFL has become, I don't want to use that word either. They challenged, I don't want to say that either. They're saying the game isn't really a game anymore because the NFL is.
Physicality's been taken out of the game. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, they're trying to say that the NFL is no longer a sport because they're trying to clean up these headshots. And the NFL is doing this to try to, for one, save the game, because this is becoming a huge problem with CTE. And this is becoming a problem at high school level, pee-wee level, and all these kids. They're trying to keep your brain from not getting CTE. So that's why they're trying to do this helmet research and all this stuff. Is like, if you have a problem with trying to protect people and their heads in the game, you're not a real fan. I dare you to go put on a helmet. Let me charge at you full speed and get a clean headshot at you and see how you feel about that comment after that. Your mind will change with a swiftness, because that's going to hurt. You might not remember your name. So the problem with me is some of the fans who are saying, "Oh, you're playing football. You know the risks." Don't say that about anything. Like, it's just, yeah, they know they can't. You're supposed to care about the people you're playing with, and you shouldn't want to watch these guys. No one should cheer what happened to Joe Flacco. That to me was scary. Seeing the helmet off and him pointing up was like, oh no, he's gone. Like, Flacco's gone right now. He has no idea what just happened. Like, no one should be saying that play should be in the game. No, it shouldn't. Imagine a lot of these guys saying that stuff. Imagine if that was your son taking that hit. Imagine that. You'd be cool with that? Would you be happy your son just got, would you tell him to, quote unquote, man up after that? Be laying on the field, doesn't know where the hell he is, probably can't even get up by himself. Like, people.
Right. Really someone to man up is the reason why we have a history of CTE in the sport.
That's exactly correct. Dan Marino recently sued the NFL because he was kept being cleared when he had clear concussions. Make a Cowboy reference. How many concussions did Aikman have? 5, 6.
lost count. At least 10.
I remember as a kid in a game he got knocked out back with the old Cowboys jerseys, the one with the star, like the ones I actually like. I wish they'd bring back.
Oh yeah, the '94 throwback jerseys. Yeah, like
I remember seeing that as a kid. Aikman had just suffered a concussion. Jerry Jones, because Jerry used to. Never mind. Jerry came down to check on Aikman. He used to be on the sideline a lot when kind of stuff happened. Jerry, then Fox caught. It was, I think Madden was calling the game. Madden Summerall. And the cameras caught Jerry walking away from Aikman, sitting on the sideline with this scowl on his face, obviously concussed. And Jerry was like, looking back, and was like, "Yeah, there's something that's bad. What just happened to Aikman?" We try to prevent that. Can you prevent every single concussion in the NFL? No. Can you prevent headhunting? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I can't even count how many undiagnosed concussions that I had. I mean, high school just doesn't have the awareness to spot concussions for the most part. And maybe that's changed over the past 10 years since I played. But God, the trainer is somebody who can only really wrap ankles. It's just, and the problem is once you get those concussions early on in your career, become an ongoing thing, and that's the dangerous part.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the point where I get really agitated when I see someone saying they know what they're doing. Stop being female genitalia about it. This is a quote unquote man's game. It's like, stop it. You're not proving yourself to be any bigger of a human being or any more of a man than anyone else who has a problem with this. You're probably an insecure asshole. Well, you're definitely an asshole. You're saying that. You're probably insecure. You probably can't do anything athletic. And if I ran full speed, took a shot at you when we're both wearing pads and helmet, and hit you in the head, you're laying down, and you're going to want to kill me afterwards because you think that was a cheap shot. I'm like, then stop saying it's okay if it happens to other people. I mean, that was the big thing to take away from that. There are some people that, I mean, Kiko immediately said he hopes he's okay. He hopes Joe's okay. He did not want to hit his head. He said, like, Flacco was close to a first down. He slid. Flacco did slide late when he realized, I'm not going to get this first down. Kiko's coming, and he's going to light my ass up if I stay standing up.
Yeah, and on that note, from somebody coming in full speed, like if Flacco slides untouched and slides past the first down marker, he's going to get that first down marker. So with that in mind, it makes sense as to why he didn't let up.
Yeah, it depends how. I mean, this thing, it also depends how they slide. If they slide feet first, they're supposed to mark it at the dead ball at start of the slide. But I think I saw Russell Wilson do this a couple years ago. He fakes sliding and keeps running because he knows you're trained to let up. You got to let up. You can't hit me once I start sliding feet first. But if a quarterback decides to dive head first, they mark it where he's touched. So it's really hard as a defender. Like, how is he sliding? Is he going to slide? Do I need to touch him? Like, what the? So Kiko was like, I'm just going to dive, try to not hit him in the head. I'm trying to put my shoulder down, clubs him. Like, he had to hit the hell out of him for the helmet to come. Like, that's the scary part. The force of the hit is what I think scares people rather than the intent of the hit. Because Flacco shouldn't play he shouldn't play. If I'm not sure the Ravens buy, but they shouldn't play next week. Probably shouldn't play the game after. Like, he got lit up in the worst way possible. But other than that, game was 40-0. Dolphins looked horrible. I have no other comments about it. I mean, I honestly was like, am I going to watch this entire game? This is just not. It's not entertaining. Unless you were a Ravens fan, you can't call that game entertaining.
And I don't really know any Ravens fans that would be entertained by that big of a blowout. But I guess maybe just not used to it. I don't know.
Back in the Trent Dilfer that season. All right, we can go to our weekly picking games, and we went through this already. We can go through them again live. Minnesota versus Cleveland. I honestly think against that defense, Cleveland should call it a victory if they can kick one field goal. Minnesota's winning that game by a bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I wanted to beat you. For some reason, I accidentally wrote down Cleveland for you. I was like, yeah, he picked Cleveland.
I very rarely would I pick Cleveland for any game.
But yeah, they might not win a game this year. They're actually having issues with Deshaun Kaiser going out on a Friday night before a game, blah, blah. Didn't matter. He's getting crap over it, but I'm like, they weren't going to win anyway. That's just a mess. I feel bad for Hugh. I know he shouldn't have took that job, but that's a different story. We have Oakland and Buffalo. We disagree on this one. I have Buffalo. The way they're playing defense is why I pick Buffalo. You pick Oakland, I'm assuming because of their offense, even though it's struggling.
I wouldn't say they're due for a resurrection on offense. Like for the early part of the season, Derek Carr has been playing injured, and as we saw last week against the Chiefs, ball down the field, and Amari Cooper is not. He's still a dangerous weapon on offense. So when they have that clicking and a formal running game between three guys, it's not just Marshawn Lynch, it's Marshawn Washington, guy that his name is escaping me right now, but three of them together, they put up a decent running game to allow the passing game to do its thing. And Oakland still has a very good offensive line.
I believe Lynch did get suspended for this game. I'm not sure if that
did he. Okay. Well, he definitely deserved to be suspended after last week. I just heard that.
He might have got it appealed.
I believe it's DeAndre Washington, but he's still a very good scat back. The passing game more so than the run game, I believe. And while that's all that is good on offense, and the Raiders don't have a bad defense either. The Bills have a questionable. I like Tyrod Taylor, and I think he can run that offense well. But if they get down early, the Bills' offense isn't the type of offense that can catch up in a hurry.
And Zay Jones, who we have investment in since he graduated he graduated from ECU. The wide receiver hasn't been. That offense isn't going to put up big numbers.
I was looking at his stats earlier this week. He's got, I think the most targets he's had is like 4 a game, and he doesn't have any more than 2 catches.
He's a second-round pick. You think they would try to get him the ball a bit more, but it is what it is. Isn't it an former ECU coach that's wide receiver coach there? Yes,
I believe you're right. For some reason, McLaughlin's sticking in my head, but I'm not sure that's right.
Yeah, there was some really good connection there that a lot of people pegged him to go into Buffalo in the first or second because of that, and ended up happening. And my big notes around Buffalo, like just right before we started filming, they traded Darius, their defensive tackle, former top 5 pick, to the Jaguars, who are definitely in need of more pass rush, which that's sarcastic. They're leading the league in NFL in sacks, and they have 10 sacks in 2 games this year, which is ridiculous. They don't have a quarterback. We'll get into that in a bit. The next game is Indiana at Cincinnati. We both pick Cincinnati. I personally like Jacoby Brissett. I like Frank Gore. I don't like their offensive line. I don't like their defense. Cincinnati hasn't played well, but they should have.
Yeah, I do see this is as far as the Colts offense is concerned. I do see this is a big game for Marlon Mack. I think this might be his breakout game.
Yeah, but we both ended up picking Cincinnati. I just don't think.
Well, yeah, but I think Cincinnati, when you have A.J. Green on the other side, that's a lot to deal with, and I don't think the Colts have anything to deal with A.J. Green.
I guess we can have a short little conversation about this. How much different would the Colts season be with Andrew Luck? A healthy Andrew Luck?
Well, obviously, Andrew Luck's going to give you a better chance to win because he's been in the offense for what, 5 years now. How long has he been in the league?
Yeah, about five.
He's got a better understanding, and I just don't think that Jacoby Brissett's skill set matches what Chuck Pagano wants to do. That he's altered his offense simple for Jacoby Brissett to keep the Colts offense in the game longer. Like it's very simplified, which is why you'll see T.Y. Hilton having as many big games as he's had in the past. Frank Gore is doing what he can, but they know that the offense is based off the run. Really can stack the box and make Jacoby Brissett try to win.
In that offensive line,
Which he's won a few games. Don't get me wrong; like, he's not a horrible backup to have. Andrew Luck is by far the better quarterback.
And that offensive line is not built to run the ball. Or
yeah, they're not built for a mobile quarterback.
And that's my thing with the team is Jacoby Brissett he's ongoing learning process. He brought in just before the season started the second week after Scott Tolzien was horrific, which is that you've been there forever. Why are you there is my question about Scott Tolzien if you can't do more than that. But that's a different question. I honestly don't. Andrew Luck just had another setback. I don't think he's playing this season, but I'm not sure how good this team would be with Luck. They might. I don't see them as a playoff team either way. They lost that game last week pretty bad.
I think the Texans. I think either one of those teams are going to win the division. I don't think the Colts have a good enough defense to win the division, even with Luck back. Because that Luck would make the offense more competitive.
Yeah, just out of the fact that he's mastered it by now, just that fact alone. He is a turnover king. That gets unmentioned with him a lot because since he was a first overall pick, but he turns the ball over a lot.
He tends to force throws when the offensive line does break down.
And let's see, this is actually the game this is my upset of the week. I guess it's I almost said San Diego. The LA Chargers against New England Patriots in Foxborough. I actually have the Chargers winning that game, mainly because I don't believe in the Patriots defense. Atlanta's offense, I don't know what that was last week. So I have Chargers winning, you have New England winning, which it's Foxborough.
I like New England in this. They just went in against a struggling Falcons team and beat them. I'm pretty sure I said this last week. It's really hard to bet against Tom Brady. Yeah. And let's not forget that Phillip Rivers does like to throw a lot of interceptions, force that ball into tight windows, and it costs him. Whether or not the Pats can take advantage of those mistakes, it remains to be seen. But what is a good matchup is Joey Bosa against the Patriots offensive line. Like a great start to the season, a lot of pressure and getting his sacks to come with it.
And I will give the front office for the Chargers a lot of credit for the Joey Bosa pick. That was universally panned. People were saying there was a lot of the same talk around Bosa as Taco Charlton. Oh, he's not a finished product. He's not going to come in there and get you all these sacks. At most, he's going to have you 7 sacks in the season. Wrong. I thought Joey Bosa – I actually kind of wanted him to go to the Cowboys, to be honest with you. He's the guy I was like needs to be a Cowboy. But he's proved a lot of people wrong. He held out his rookie season, but he's turned it up and playing extremely well. Next, we have Chicago and New Orleans. We both picked New Orleans. Chicago somehow managed to win a game last week, completing 4 passes out of 7 attempts. They're starting Mitch Trubisky. I think they're ruining Mitch Trubisky, but that's an entirely different story. The Panthers played horribly on offense last week. They gave up 2 touchdowns on offense to the Bears defense. New Orleans is going to probably score 40, and the Bears might score a touchdown. Well, New Orleans doesn't have a great defense, but again, Mitch Trubisky is not ready. It's just not. It's just not.
Yeah. I assume Jordan Howard's going to have a bigger game against the Saints, but that's only going to get him so far. Brees, and Drew Brees still has a lot of weapons on offense, especially a Kamara out of the backfield, and also Mark Ingram, who has found his groove with Adrian Peterson gone. Like, he's rushed for 100 yards over the past 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And that offense is just extremely dynamic right now.
That team
Still don't have much on defense, but they have enough on defense to beat the Bears.
I think the Saints are going to win the NFC South. We can talk about, and I'm going to get to the game. We can talk about as to why.
Right now all the other teams are kind of struggling.
That actually leads into the next game: Atlanta against the Jets, and Jets are at home. I actually have the Jets, and you have Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's offense is waking up in the cold. Their indoor team. I think the Jets will surprise people and somehow get this win.
Well, yeah, but it's still not that cold. It's only October.
I mean, I don't have any faith in that team right now.
I respect the point, but I think that, especially what I saw against the Patriots last week, like the Atlanta offensive coordinator, he tried to be too cute, especially in the red zone.
Sarkisian.
But I think towards the end, they just realized what they need to do is run straight forward and throw to Julio Jones, which is something that they lacked in the red zone for some reason. Like, especially on goal line, like they failed to end around sweep to Taylor Gabriel rather than run up the middle with Devontae Freeman, who was getting at least 3-4 yards a carry. That doesn't make any sense from an offensive play calling standpoint, but in reflection, they have come to that realization.
And
that being said, the Jets are playing above what everybody thought they could have this season. So it will be a good game. I just think the Falcons have more firepower on offense to ultimately come out with a win.
The Falcons are desperately miss Kyle Shanahan, and that's really apparent. I didn't think he was going to make that big of a deal, but he has. And that's in the next game against San Francisco. Against Philly, Kyle Shanahan's the new head coach as the 49ers. John Lynch is the general manager. Never thought I would say that, but we both have Philly there. I think we know why. There's really not much really to. If the 49ers win that game,
the Eagles might drop 50.
I mean,
well, they'll call off the dogs, but they could.
I don't like after that game last week. Yeah, they played a lot of teams close. They could do it again. I just don't know how the 49ers, with what they have, can match up against Ertz and the speed on the outside that the Eagles have some of. And
the size differential that Alshon Jeffrey brings to the table.
So, yeah, I don't know what do we want 49ers to win? Obviously, but it's –
yeah, that would be fantastic, but I don't see it happening.
On paper, Carson Wentz is going to have – if the 49ers win this game, Carson Wentz is going to have his worst game of the season. There's going to be 3+ turnovers. C.J. Beathard's going to play really well. Carlos Hyde's going to play really well. But the Eagles' defensive line, like a lot of people give the corners credit and the safety. I give Malcolm Jenkins credit, and that's it. But their strength is that defensive line and the fact that they will cover zero, blitz you, and don't care. Like, they don't care. If you beat them over the top, they're fine with it. That didn't happen much last week against the Skins. I just think if they do that against the 49ers have no answer. So, yeah, Eagles big. In the interesting game to talk about, Carolina versus Tampa Bay. We both picked Tampa Bay. Cam Newton this week. Like Cam Newton, if you go back to his college days, he started 1 year at Auburn, won the national championship, blah, blah, blah. But if you go back further than that, he started his career at Florida. He had some problems at Florida, conduct problems at Florida, got released from Florida's program, went to junior college. Did he go to junior college for 2 years, or did he get kicked? Something
No, just one. Just one.
Because he only spent 1 year at. Did he lose a year of eligibility from this Florida stuff? Because
No, I believe he came out as a junior.
Possible.
They won the national championship as a junior and figured that's the best he was going to do. He won the Heisman and the national championship the same year.
And Cam Newton, ever since he got in the league, like you can go back and search on the Panthers website because I did, and there's always been comments from reporters close to the Panthers about his character, especially if the team's not doing well. He'll say things, and over the past, what is it? Has it been 3 weeks since the last incident with the reporter? This week, he's asked why do you think this is the reason your team isn't getting big plays? Perfectly fine football question. Didn't say anything about a route. And he's like, he's just like, next question. And like everyone's like, okay. Someone tries to ask the next question. Cam Newton, he exits, stays left the press conference. He's a quarterback. He's definitely the face of the franchise. At one point was the highest endorsed player in the league, leader of the team, acting like Johnny Manziel. This without the domestic violence. He's acting like Johnny Manziel. Like I don't understand. Like I don't get it. You can talk more about it. I just don't get it. He's playing against Jameson Winston, who is not the pillar of leaders either. So
no, but right now, like I've watched several Panthers games this season. They've only had like one where it seemed like Cam Newton was the old Cam Newton, and that was against the Patriots. Like it seems like he can only turn it on against big opponents, and that just Carolina is a shell of its former self, and it seems like it comes from the all. It seems like just because of the situation that they're in and the play calls that they come up with, it just doesn't mesh well with what you want to do to move the ball towards the end zone. But at the same time, that doesn't excuse Cam Newton for overthrowing his 6'6" wide receivers somehow. Go figure. But also, they have no run game. They have zero run game. They have Jonathan Stewart and Christian McCaffrey, but McCaffrey is primarily used as a receiver out of the backfield.
Christian McCaffrey is the next coming of Darren Sproles.
Which is great for fantasy because I have him in several leagues, but that's beside the point. But Jonathan Stewart, they really need Jonathan Stewart to run. But then again, it's not really Jonathan Stewart's fault because they've refused to address the offensive line in the past 3 drafts, which is the reason why there's no run game and is the reason why Cam Newton's getting hit almost every time he drops back. Like they draft players at positions that they don't particularly need.
Best available. That will be a phrase that comes up a lot when we start talking about the draft, and there's a lot of different ideologies about that. Cam Newton is just, when the Panthers had their run to the Super Bowl, it was because of the defense. When Panthers win, it's because of their defense. Cam Newton gets all the credit. I'd never said he was elite quarterback. Yes, I know he won MVP, whatever.
He put up big stats, but that doesn't make him an elite quarterback.
He's in the middle of tier 2. I can probably say 15, 16 or so quarterbacks are better. Sorry, Panthers fans, on that one. He's not worth the attitude and all that bad press, but we can talk about that at a different point. I see Tampa Bay winning this game because what the Panthers did last week on offense is embarrassing. Like that should never happen to that team with Matt Trubisky starting, completing 4 passes. Jesus, we have a disagreement on this game. Houston against Seattle. I have Seattle. You have Houston. Seattle has no offensive line. There's no way else to say it. Russell Wilson is a savant for being able to put up numbers he puts up and get the Seattle Hawks to win games because of the fact they don't have an offensive line. The running game struggles. Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin have to figure it out. Jimmy Graham's not playing like himself. For some reason, Doug Baldwin blew up on the sideline in the game they won, pushing out Tom Gable. I think the offensive line coach, I have no idea what that was about. But Seattle's known for letting their emotions go on the sideline. Evidently, the locker room's a good place, and they get along. So they say, hey, you got emotions on the sideline, let them out. It works for them. Winning team, been a winning team.
Right. And Pete Carroll is a perfect guy to let those emotions take the path that they need to and still get everybody to go. Well, there's no taking that away. And Seattle still has their very good defense. Can't take that away from them. But I ultimately think that this game is going to come down to the offense because Houston does have a good defense. With if they had J.J. Watt, it would be so much better. But let's not forget they still have Jadeveon Clowney and a very solid defense behind him.
That's another step.
The difference is going to come in with the playmakers they have on offense. It's Russell Wilson and a shitty offensive line. But Houston has Deshaun Watson, who's coming into his own as a rookie. Houston's getting a 3-time Pro Bowler left tackle back this week, who's coming off his holdout. And they also have DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and Lamar Miller out of the backfield. Like I just think that Houston's offense is the deciding factor here.
I do think Doug Baldwin deserves there was a couple of years where I said Doug Baldwin's like a slot wide receiver, your third best option, and he kept putting up gigantic numbers. Like, oh, okay, Doug, you're a top 10 wide receiver. I get it. My bad for doubting him. So he can put up some
fantasy wide receiver because he puts those points up late because he's the only option other than Jimmy Graham.
Aside from those two, I can't really tell you anyone on that. Well, including quarterback. That team is a quarterback team. Like that might be the most quarterback-driven team in the NFL. Like there's no chance without
New England.
They won how many games to Matt Castle? Anytime people say that one, I'm like, I think it's more about the coach. Matt Castle won 11 games as that team starting quarterback.
At the time, I mean, that was, 8 years ago? Like I'm talking about now.
Defense is so bad. He gets. Yeah. I don't think they might lose 7, 8. I would not be shocked if they lost 6, 7 games. That defense is horrific. So yeah, Brady has a lot to do with it. If they don't lose 6, 7 games, it's because of Brady. So yeah, we can have that discussion at the end of the.
So you made my point.
Well, if is big, there's a lot of games left. We can we'll see with that team, and then we have Dallas and Washington. We both have Dallas winning. Game still scares me, but we talked about it. Dallas can
injuries. I think the injuries on the Redskins offensive line is going to be the biggest factor that will lead to our win.
And they have a really good offensive line when everyone's healthy. Like that. That's one of 6 offensive lines in the NFL that are good. Like there's so many bad offensive lines in the NFL. Right? I don't get it. Like Seattle, Dallas got their pattern from Seattle first did this when they were like, it was Seattle who first. Oddly enough, we're going to build up our offensive line and have a strong defense. Then we're going to get a really young quarterback and let him win. Seattle definitely is like, okay, Russell Wilson's good enough. We can just put whatever the fuck we want to in front of him and he'll be good. Yeah, and you also got him hurt a bit. But
it's enough to win the division, but
then Dallas did it, and no other teams decided maybe we should have a really good offensive line. Giants passed up on it.
Seattle just got to re-sign the lineman. We did.
Yeah. Besides Leary, but that was a big contract. But I don't think you can't sign everybody.
Right.
You still could have signed Leary, I think, but well, he was really mad after the whole being benched for Collins. But different story. Then we had Denver versus KC. I have KC. I don't understand. Their defense has played really bad the past 2 games, but that offense is explosive. Never thought I would say that about KC anytime soon, but that offense is they are. It's like watching a track team speed on a football field. That team is so fast on offense. It's like, oh yeah, Cowboys have to play them soon. That's scary. But you have Denver.
Is what you imagine if Usain Bolt would have actually gotten that football tryout 10 years ago.
Yeah, that team is so fast. Like that offense is so fast. This is good luck. If you're gonna cover them 1-on-1, get your corners 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like don't try. Don't.
Yeah. Don't press the line.
You have Denver. Why'd you have Denver winning that game? Did you pick Denver for that game?
No, I got the Chiefs circled.
Oh, okay. I was like, I have Denver now for you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have to pick the Broncos in that. No.
Let's see. Then, yeah, that's all the games for this week. I mean, it's going to be yeah.
Oh, Steelers Lions.
Oh, right, Steelers Lions. Yeah, we both have Steelers for that. Which brings up Martavius. What's his name? Martavius Bryant. Right. He decided to be the next line of professional athletes to use social media poorly and commented to someone on Instagram saying, Juju Smith is not at my level, blah, 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 blah. If they would just give me what I want, then you could have Juju, pretty much. He later deleted that, then re-commented saying, what I meant was Juju is the future and is a good player and didn't mean anything against Juju. Well, the Emperor coach, Mike Tomlin at the Steelers, dude scares me even though he's nowhere near me. That's a frightening dude. Like, he basically tells Martavius Bryant, yeah, you're being demoted this week. You're going to be running scout team. You're not playing. You're not going to be active. And he threw in, we're not trading you. If that's true or not, who knows? The deadline's come up on the 31st. And seeing that, I was like, I wish that happened in the NBA. I might still be a hardcore NBA fan if coaches were like, you do not run this team. You are a player. I am coach. That should have happened years ago in the NBA. It wouldn't be at the point where it is now. That's a different story. But what do you think about Bryant? And do you think he's a big distraction, or are they putting this out of their mind? Like, it must be pretty awkward.
I think Bryant is a very talented player. Like, you can't teach the type of speed and quickness that he has with the ball in his hands.
He's big.
He was way out of line with the way he went about trying to get traded. Like, that's just not how you do things this day and age. What you're playing, like, that doesn't normally. Well, I guess Kyrie Irving's a bad analogy to that.
He was outed by someone else. I don't think that was him who made that public.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't tell that person to out him. All right, I think Martavis is a troubled individual, and I just think he's overshadowed by what type of offense Pittsburgh came up with while he was suspended because of his weed problems. They evolved on offense tremendously with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. It's just, and with those two guys being the two primary targets, like Ben Roethlisberger has learned to find the other guys when those two guys are covered, and it hasn't been Martavis. And it's been guys like Sammy Coates and Juju. But Roethlisberger at his best is somebody who spreads the ball around.
You want this
with the supplement of guys while still giving AB 12 catches a game. Like, AB is going to get his 10 catches or 10 targets at least, but everything else is spread out evenly.
Yeah, if AB doesn't get that, he's going to throw a fit on the sideline, which he already has done this year. So the scary part is when we were talking about Cowboys receivers.
Who are we defending again?
Oh, yeah. The problem with Cowboys receivers is Martavius Bryant is exactly what we were talking about. He is like 6'3", 6'4", 4'3", something.
Okay, well, here's the question. Would you want to have Martavis on the Cowboys?
Randy Gregory is still serving a year-long suspension for he here's the thing. It's the week. It comes down to week. In the grand scheme of things, is weed the awful drug that we in Japan as a country make it? No. But with that being said, there are times if you read the CBA that you know you're going to be tested for certain substances. You just have to not smoke it for that period of time and you're good. I'm sure there's probably guys in the NFL right now smoking weed, like, oh God, I'm sore from practice. Let me get this drug. It probably happens every week.
Hey, on that that note, David Stern came out this week, the former NBA commissioner, and he came out and said that weed should be legalized for medicinal purposes for the NBA players. And then he also said that it should be completely legal. That's huge coming from somebody of his stature.
You said the NBA commissioner?
I realize I don't want to get in this entire argument,
Yeah.
This episode, but it is for medicinal purposes with athletes is definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and it's just the thing is, I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is the Cowboys are still getting rid of Randy Gregory. You can apply for reinstatement on like the November 5th. But he's so fast. He's so fast and 6'4". It's just like don't be a jackass. You just go run like posts and goes. And I like the talent. I would have to break down the draft to see if there's speed guys besides coming out. But he's the exact model, the kind of player the Cowboys need to take the offense into. We don't care what the defense does. We're just going to score 40 and win every game.
Yeah.
Do I want him personally? I don't think the Cowboys need this in the locker room with certain other issues.
Do we need a player like him? Yes. Mm-hmm. Do we need that player? Probably not.
Yeah. Which is a shame because that dude has a lot. Just like Josh Gordon, who's same issues. Like Josh Gordon was about to make the Browns competitive on offense with bad cornerbacks. That's how much talent Josh Gordon had. We don't know if he still has it. Who knows what shape he's in right now. So it's a shame, but yeah, it is what it is. Like, are the Steelers really not going to trade him? They want to keep this in the locker room all season?
Well, he's under contract for this season and next season, so if they're not trading him now, maybe they'll cut him.
They're not going to cut him. I don't think they cut that guy. He's going to they'll get nothing for him.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, a lot of teams could use that kind of speed. But seemingly a lot of teams have soured off on the players with need issues. So who knows how many teams actually want it? So that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can wrap up by talking about what is your biggest concern on the team right now for the Dallas Cowboys? Is it the speed at wide receivers, defense? Is it now kickers?
Well, I mean, our overall speed at wide receiver is a concern, but we had the same personnel last year and still made it work. Up until so far in the season, my biggest concern on offense is the play of the offensive line. Like, I don't think it's played up to the level they did last year. And that I don't think it's because they don't have the talent that we had last year. I think it's just I think, like I mentioned to you the other night, an offensive line is not about how one person plays. It's about how the group of five plays together. And I think we're just starting to find out how to play together to give Dak the most time in the pocket. So I think that's something that can be built upon. As one positive we have from the 49ers game, being a blowout, there's not too many things you could take from it and move forward, but the overall play from the offensive line is. And so I think we take that and we build upon that towards this week.
Yeah, Jonathan.
On defense.
Okay.
On defense, I'm really concerned about our secondary. Like even with, I think our defensive line was able to stifle a lot of the 49ers offense last week, obviously on tape. But if they were not able to do that against a terrible 49ers line, how bad would our secondary have looked? Granted, the 49ers only have Pierre Garçon and Goodwin. Godwin's got some speed, but ultimately they didn't have anybody they can match up with us. Pierre Garçon is still a good wide receiver, but you can double coverage him. So I still think secondary is a weakness for us.
Looking at him, I think for the offensive line, if Jonathan Cooper lives up to his draft status, he was 7th overall. If he can play like that and like he did last week, offensive line's clicking. We're going to be in this. Team's going to be in the same problem. He's a free agent after this year. Do you sign Cooper back? Do you try to go draft a guard? So but for this season, if Cooper plays well in the offensive line, I think they've got it. And I think they started clicking last week. He's saying all the right things. He seems to be working really hard. Coming out of training camp, I always thought he should be the starter. I'm not sure why they even went there with Chaz Green, who cannot stay healthy more than 3 games at a time.
Right.
Different story. What you said about the secondary, Cheeto missing another game with his hamstring. Who knows how many more? That one's a little disappointing. Yeah, the secondary is really young, experience-wise and age-wise. I think the talent is there. They just have to be consistent. I'm not as hard on Heath and Jones as everyone else is, but they need to play better. Heath showed great signs last week coming forward, being physical at the tackle, stopping them right there. That was a good sign. Jones needs to be solid in coverage, especially this week, since I think he's probably going to be responsible for Reed and Davis. So big week for him if Marinelli follows suit with how he usually handles good tight ends. That's pretty much Jones. Go get him. They might do that with Rhodes. I would rather Jones do it. It just depends. They have Redskins have a ton of talent. So my biggest concern overall, honestly, this is going to sound like a cop-out, but the Zeke situation, I don't think there's any way that in the locker room it is playing off as how the team is showing it plays off when the press is in there and what Garrett says on the podium. I think it's a bigger problem, an issue, than they're letting him know. Garrett's MO is to everyone be stone-faced, say these predetermined things, don't tell the press basically anything. Only person right now is doing a little bit different is DeMarcus Lawrence. He throws in some fun things every now and then. Everyone else is pretty much sticking to the script. I think it's an issue. There's also other things we won't get into at this point in time surrounding the Cowboys and someone who loves the spotlight and has since he's been associated with the franchise, who's doing some things that's causing issues in the locker room. So I think the overall mental state of the team on a week-to-week basis is the biggest concern for me.
Yeah, that's a valid point. That's a valid point.
I mean, a lot of that's not getting on the press. There's not a lot of rumors. I'm pretty sure certain players one individual in the media has said certain things that a player came to him and said some things. So I don't think it's really a talent issue. I think as far as linebacker, the depth at linebacker is a problem, but I do think the mental state of the team is being challenged right now with ongoing Zeke situation, other issues in the locker room that after a point in time, you're a human being. It's a distraction no matter how many times you say it's not a distraction. It's going to get in there if you're bothered by something and this is keep weighing on the team, or keep asked about this one thing, or someone keeps commenting on this one thing. Yes, I'm being really vague. Try not to get into this here. Might see some of my other videos might have something to do with it, maybe. But
What?
I think it's something.
It's going to come out.
Yeah, there's uh, there's mental things surrounding the team that is getting to the players. I'm just hoping they can block it out on Sunday and figure it out the rest of the week. I know Jason Garrett is saying like we think about today, the team. But I'm not even sure he's being honest about his true feelings about certain things, either from previous statements.
No, of course he's not. He's trying to minimize headlines the best he can. But when you have a owner that runs his mouth, shit, now we're getting into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's my biggest concern with the team is like, are they going to be distracted by outside things going on around the team on Sundays? I mean, the games they've lost, aside from the Bronco game, games they could have won, they could easily be 5-1, like easily. They're a touchdown and 2 games away from being 5-1.
Yeah, I'm not concerned yet about where we are during the season. The Eagles, it seemed like they're running away with the division, but then again, this is the way they started out last year. Them tailing off, or it's not out of the realm of possibility. But at the same time, we are definitely on pace for a wild card spot. So I'm not concerned about us making the playoffs just yet.
The Eagles starting 6-1 concerns me. I thought they were going to be better because I was very high on Wentz coming out, and it was like he's not going to be 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions the second year. He's better than that. He's going to have more experience, and he's going to get used to it and used to the speed better because he did come from an FCS school, like one of the best FCS schools of all time in the past decade. But still, he's going to get better. He didn't have the supporting cast that Dak had, which, if we want to be honest, I had Wentz rated way over Dak, and so did almost every other NFL team, seemingly. That's changed now. Dak has played ridiculous, especially this year when not everything's working in the running game as they would like it to. So, I mean, I'm still a bit worried about the Eagles, especially how they match up against the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have problems with tight ends. Ertz is like the best tight end in the NFL right now, as he's the best utilized talented tight end, if that makes sense. Him and Gronk.
Well, I mean, everybody wants to say Gronk's the best tight end, but Gronk's just a big body that can catch.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can run the routes you need, can make the hard catches, and can also do some blocking at the same time.
Yeah, and
Gronk does not block.
No, Gronk does not do that at all.
Gronk's back.
I mean, there's a lot of good tight ends in the NFL right now. I mean, like Jason Witten, one of the best ever. It might be the best all-around tight end. I don't remember Gonzalez doing a lot of blocking either during his career.
That's a great point.
So
Witten does.
So yeah, I mean, the Eagles bother me. I don't really think after the way the Skins played last week, I'm not worried about them winning the division. They had injuries, but they tailed off, and it was like, okay, this pass-first offense isn't going to win you a division, which is a greater testament to the NFL right now. Teams that just want to go out and chuck the ball. You're not going deep in the playoffs. Looking at Detroit, looking at the Redskins, those are the 2 big ones that have a chance that they stick out. I was like, oh, they just throw the ball. It's like, you got to run. To win a Super Bowl, you're going to have to run at some point in time.
Yes.
Or at that point, can they run enough to win enough games? Rams can. Can't believe I just said that. The Rams can win the division over the Seahawks. I don't think they will. Jeff Goff is going to come down to earth at some point.
I don't know, man.
So if the Cowboys win this game and they can somehow manage.
With Carson Palmer injured, the Rams could very well win the division.
Oh, yeah. Things for Arizona just got bleak.
They don't have any type of competition other than Seattle. And Seattle will go as far as their offensive line takes them.
Yeah, Seattle. I think Seattle beat them early in the year. So.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, yeah. Let's looking at the I don't know. It's just if Cowboys win this game and they don't get swept the next two, so I think they play KC and then Philadelphia.
No, it's KC, then the Falcons, then Philly.
Okay, God, that's a murderous row. Unless the Falcons just drop off, which is not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not sure what they're doing. Cowboys, if they need to,
Then the Chargers.
For me to be really confident in this year, the Cowboys are going to have to win this game, and they're going to have to beat KC, which is pretty much okay. For one, is Zeke playing? Because run that ball, run it a lot. Do not let that offense on. And Alex Smith offense is scary, which is not something you ever said before this year in the NFL. It's like you got to run that ball, keep them off the field because that's a track team that plays football well. That is fast team on offense. Like that is the best. That's the scariest offense in the NFL right now. It's just they're just like, okay, we got the ball at the 20. We're in the red zone and we're talking about their own 20. They can score from anywhere at any time, any kind of play, and that's the kind of speed that just scares you. And the Cowboys, even on defense, don't have the greatest team speed. So I mean, it comes down to this game. They'll be 4-3, or wait, 3-3, right?
Yeah, 3-3 right now.
That should be. But yeah, they'll be 4-3 going into KC. That's a home game, right? KC game's a home game, right? Because it's 2 straight road games.
Yes, Kansas City is a home game on CBS.
So
on the 5th.
Go 5-3 and see where the Falcons are. Then if the Falcons are struggling, that might be not as hard as a game as people thought it would. So I don't know. It really comes down to this game. You needed the 49ers game to basically not talk about the draft show now. They won that game with extreme ease. So I don't know. If they win this game, which they should, there's no excuses to not stop the Redskins offense with their offensive line this beat up. So I know that's a really long answer, but it's just with all the mental things going on surrounding the team that are not even the team's fault. Give me another hint. It's not even what the team did. It's someone associated with the team bringing stuff up and going through this along with these situations. Like, you're not helping the team by doing that. If they can overcome that, I think there's enough talent that they can make another run. Especially if the pass rush stays where it is. If the pass rush stays this good, they can do whatever the hell they want. And I think it covers up a lot of mistakes on the back end.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
well said.
Yeah. It seems like we're teetering on going into that conversation, which might not be a good idea. I'm not sure if it is or not, but it's
a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, it's just frustrating hearing new stuff about that every day. It's just like, stop it. You're not helping your team at all. You're actually making more of them upset. So yeah, we will wrap up there with episode 2 before we get into that conversation and start a storm. And yeah, this is Saloon Sports with Ben Walter. We will be back to talk about this week's game, what good happened, what bad happened, and yeah, we'll be back. And thank you for those who are watching.
All right, take care.